Sri Lanka is in the midst of its worst economic meltdown in decades, and recently the country has suspended fuel sales for 2 weeks except for essential services. According to various reports, Sri Lanka has fuel that is enough to last just a few days. In this context, today we take a look at India's strategic petroleum reserves that have been conceptualized to ward off any such drastic contingencies. But before that, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Strategic petroleum reserves are essentially huge stockpiles of crude oil to deal with any oil-related crisis like the risk of supply disruption from natural disasters, war or other calamities. These reserves serve as a buffer and are in addition to the stock of the storage of crude oil that are with the oil companies in the country. These are strategic in nature. That means the crude oil from these stockpiles can only be used during any unforeseen event and only with the proper authorization by the Union government at the highest level. The need for such reserves was first felt during 1990s during the Gulf War when there were large-scale disruption in the global supply of oil and India nearly had 4x reserves sufficient for 3 weeks of import. Back then, the nation averted the crisis by embarking on economic liberalization. To address such disruptions in the future and its effect on our 4x reserves, the idea of having strategic petroleum reserves was first mooted in 1998 during the tenure of Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Phase 1 of the SPR was commissioned in 2003. India currently has 3 active functional strategic petroleum reserves with a total capacity of 5.3 MMT. These are at Visakhapatnam in Andhra and at Mangalore and Padur, both in Karnataka. Phase 2 of the SPR was approved in June 2018 and under this, 2 new strategic petroleum reserves were to be built in Chandikhol of Odisha and in Padur. With these, the total crude oil stockpile is slated to last 22 days. Besides this, the oil industry across the nation is slated to have a capacity of stockpile of oil that is sufficient to last 65 days. This makes it a total of 87 days of stockpile of oil in the country. This is just 3 days short of the 90 days time frame which the International Energy Agency says every nation must maintain to hedge themselves against any oil shocks and the resulting disruptions. These underground reserves are maintained by an entity known as the Indian Strategic Petroleum Reserves Limited. It is a subsidiary of the Oil Industry Development Board, which falls under the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Such oil reserves are the safest bet against any sort of global disruptions and in the context of our energy security, since India is the 3rd largest crude oil importer in the world. These were all the relevant information in the context of the strategic petroleum reserves that India has. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more such informational videos.